Hi everyone, Lazy Fire here. Welcome back to the Hate the Player podcast. We're off of the Dead Gay Armcast, and I'm not going to number that last one, so this is actually 41 for us. And only Arnold's here with me tonight. Three Toes had to bow out due to exhaustion-related issues. I think he was just podcasting too hard last week, and it got to him.
I heard when I talked to him, he said he hit his elbow and he actually has a dead gay arm. And can't podcast with one arm.
I can't scroll and jerk off at the same time. How am I supposed to? Oh boy!
Actually, I'm pretty sure he's an autofillator. So
yeah, that's it. I heard he was actually autoerotic. It's a big thing for him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, some things you can only do right yourself, and I mean, more power to him.
Yeah. So people are gonna screw things up. You have to take care of things yourself sometimes. That's his policy on everything. We really have to stop doing that to him when he's not here to defend himself. He does listen to these.
Well, if he wanted to be defended, he would have been here. So,
I
defend
guess.
himself.
No, we're just too much of a group of cowards to actually say stuff to his face.
Wait, but that's pretty much what we do all podcast whenever he's here, say shit like that to his face.
No, I think we lay off of it and we start talking about other people when he's not here. But when he's not here, we start talking about him.
I don't know. I feel like we need to do a comprehensive 40-episode review.
Shit. That's right. I should have really gone and done the best of video. It would have been 3 seconds of video, but
it would have just been dead gay arm on loop.
Yeah. Arnold, I want to get right into it this week because, well, I'm tired too. What have you been doing this week? What are you hating on? What are you enjoying with life? What is it?
I've been... the Goons started a new Daisy server. It's pretty great, and been spending time on there.
Is that the mod version? Or
the mod version. Mod version. Standalone, I haven't hated myself enough to go back into that cesspool. Last I heard that you need to keep your balls dry and cool. Not too cool, but not too hot. It's apparently becoming the Spurg simulator that Dean Rocket Two Guns Hall wanted to have all along.
Well, hey, that man had a vision and he decided to carry it out.
Hey, praise be the tism. It's that is. I mean, I didn't realize how unfun standalone was till I went back to the mod. By the mod, I mean not his mod. I mean the mod that people have modded of his mod. Yes.
I love it.
Yeah.
Whenever someone mods something, there's always someone who's going to come around. Like back when Skyrim came out, there's this guy who modded in this thing so on the PC you wouldn't have to go through a loading screen when you went into towns.
Mm-hmm.
I think we've talked about this before. And eventually he decided that one of the things he wanted in his mod was Oblivion gates in every city for whatever reason. So somebody took his mod and went in and took out the Oblivion gates, and he threatened to sue for copyright infringement because somebody changed his vision of his mod.
And what damages would he have for his free mod?
I don't know. I just assumed that he's a moron. But then again, he did...
We at the 11th Circuit District Court find you guilty and find you no dollars and no cents.
You have to pay lawyer fees for yourself and for him. This is... we sentence you to death for this stupid lawsuit.
But no, just a fair amount of Daisy. I've been playing Wasteland 2 here and there. Still really great game. Can't recommend it enough if you like the old-fashioned CRPG type stuff.
Yeah.
Pretty decent story. Interesting universe. It's everything you want in a RPG. Well, have to qualify that because when I know when I say RPG, some people think Final Fantasy and Ladyboys and stuff like that. And
how many
no,
zippers?
It's not that kind of game. But yeah,
I need buckles and zippers on all my clothing. It's a Final Fantasy game, right?
Yeah, and if my weapon isn't larger than my entire body, I can't actually use it.
Yeah, I mean, what am I supposed to do with this weapon that's appropriately sized for my use?
Mm-mm.
I
Nope.
don't understand.
But yeah. Other than that, no, nothing new or particularly great. I mean, outside of Wasteland 2. I mean, I've been stuck on that.
Yeah.
What you were saying, you've played what, Shadows of Mordor?
Shadow of Mordor. I keep saying shadows, but it's just
Oh,
shadow.
right.
Uh,
Because it's just one guy. He is the Shadow of Mordor.
yes, it's just one dude.
So what's the premise behind it?
So the idea is that you are a ranger of the Black Gate, which is the area in Lord of the Rings that opens up from Gondor to Mordor.
Hmm.
Uh, okay, so somebody had this insane Tolkien rant. I have to go find it. It was in the Reddit AMA for the game. That it was like for 7 days or so before the game came out. The producer and the lore manager did an AMA, and this one guy went on a two post, like replied to his own post, Tolkien like lore rant explaining why this game made no sense in terms of timeline and everything, because it takes place between the Hobbit and the Fellowship of the Ring, and it doesn't take into account the book timeline, which is different than the movie timeline. Because in the book, it's like 20 years after Frodo gets the ring from Bilbo,
Hmm.
Gandalf comes and they go on the actual like movie.
Yeah, Fellowship of the Ring and all that.
Right. In the Hobbit, it's like 80 years between the Hobbit and the start of the Fellowship,
Mm.
and what it should be is you actually have 100-year gap between the end of the Hobbit and the start of the Fellowship of the Rings, like all this other shit, right? So this guy was like freaking out about that and like the timeline, like, oh, the Gondor Rangers abandoned the Black Gate 1,200 years before that. I don't know why you guys think this game is lore friendly, bullshit like that, right?
Oh my god.
It's really dumb. So what it is that in this game you're a Gondor Ranger. You get this is all within the first 10 seconds. All the previews talk about this. Your family gets killed before you, but you don't die. More appropriately, you die, but you just come back, and you now happen to be uh, extra spirit powered. There is
So
an elf ghost that
so you're basically the Punisher, Lord of the Rings edition.
pretty much, yeah. And there's an elf ghost that inhabits you and gives you second sight. That is basically detective vision from Batman or eagle vision from Assassin's Creed. Uh,
Gotcha.
the way
Yeah, I
I
was wondering
actually
about the blue glowy eyes.
Yes, the way I would put this game, it's basically a sex tape between the Batman Arkham series and the Assassin's Creed series, filmed by the Lord of the Rings beat 'em up games that EA put out with the movies.
And
Like,
both of those games are really good series.
yeah, it improves a lot on certain things. Like in Batman, you could only have like 5 or 6 guys fighting you on screen at once.
Hmm.
This one, I went into an area. There are areas called strongholds where there's just a bunch of guys. They can call an alarm, and then a million people show up. There were points where I was surrounded by like 30 or 40 people, and you're just like swinging through them and countering stuff,
Hmm.
and it's really really fun. There's some cool moves you can pull off, but it's almost exactly controlling like Batman does. So right trigger puts you into sneak mode. You can stealth knock people out. You can jump off of ledges onto people to kill them or knock
Yeah, I
them
was going to
out.
ask if stealth is a big thing in it.
It is and it isn't. Like you can definitely approach a lot of situations with stealth or without stealth, and there's a lot of options. Like in Batman, you have to. Okay, I'm gonna distract this guy, and then I'm gonna sneak over. Or in Assassin's Creed, you can call people over to where you're hiding and then stab them. You can do that in this game, and you can send people to other areas instead of like finding you. But they give you a lot of environmental options. Like there's things you can explode, and it's not just
Are
like
they red barrels? I hope they're red barrels.
no, there's no red barrels. You can explode fires because when you go to aim a bow, you go into elf mode, elf ghost mode, and it slows down time, or you can turn that slowing down option off, but it automatically slows down time a little bit, and you can explode fires or grog barrels, basically just alcohol, and there's a couple other things that you can just explode, right? And it causes these huge, like, giant explosions that take out 5 or 6 guys. And it's actually pretty cool. That counts as stealth kills and all this stuff. But you're running around this area. The map is pretty large, but you get around pretty quickly. There are giant lizard dogs that you can jump on top of. They're not wargs like they were in
The movie.
yeah, they're not wargs, but there's something else. There's samurboars or something, and you hop onto it. It puts you in this bucking bronco sort of thing, and you have to move your joystick until the symbol's in the circle, then hit a button, and you control the guy, and you can go around and knocking people over. You can get off of the thing, and it like follows you around like a puppy, just destroying any orc that you come across.
So, is it? I'm trying to figure out based off that. Like, is it a console exclusive or is it?
I'm playing this on a PC.
Okay, so you're just playing it with your
Yeah.
360 controller, right?
Yeah, because I could not do the Batman games with a mouse and keyboard.
Yeah, I can't imagine that. That's the whole. That's kind of the reason I don't even bother with those sorts of games on PC, just because.
Yeah, just plug a 360 controller and you're fine. It controls just fine with that. It's actually pretty cool. I really appreciate just the basic gameplay elements being that fun. I've done maybe 4 main story missions, and I've got like 9 hours into the game. I'm not really bored of it yet. I'll still fire it up and go around because there's this thing called the Nemesis system, and I mentioned this last week real quickly. But the idea is that Sauron has his army that he's building up, right? And so they're like lieutenants and captains and chieftains and all this. They're named people, and they have their areas that they are in, and they're holding these events, like they're doing trials or they're doing executions or they're having feasts or they're going on hunts. And you go to these places and you fuck these things up, or you help them succeed and they gain power levels or they lose power levels, or you kill them and they get replaced by other people or something like that. Then if you die, all the things that are going on at the time resolve themselves. So it's like, okay, well, this guy was executing this guy, he succeeded in it. So he kills him, that guy appears, gets taken off the board, he's replaced by a new guy. And this other guy was having a feast, the feast went off well, he gained a power level. And stuff like this. And when you die in this game, you just respawn at the nearest tower, which are sort of like the Lord of the Rings. Sorry, they're the Assassin's Creed sort of eagle nest things.
Gotcha.
But the towers are less common, and they're just like one per like zone.
Right.
And you just jump off of it. You take no fall damage in the game, and you go back on your life.
Do you make the eagle sound when you jump off them?
There is a sound that does get made. It's not an eagle sound, unfortunately. But yeah,
Is it made by Ubisoft?
No, this was made by Monolith of Fear fame, published by WB Games, because they currently have the license through the Middle Earth licensing company that owns the Middle Earth stuff, and it's like 100%. They said we worked with Peter Jackson's Weta Workshop to make sure that we got the look of Mordor right, and it's it's bizarre that 10 years. It's longer than 10 years since these movies came out.
Oh yeah, no, they came out. What, it would have been 2001.
2001. That's the first one. I think the last one came out in 2003. I was definitely in college well after the last one came out. But so these movies have been sort of like the visual representation of Middle Earth for so long that there's no way you can go against it. And it's, if you're not referencing stuff that was like the elf ghost, it's very clear he's an important character from the Tolkien myth, but to the point I've played so far, I have no idea who he is, because he doesn't even know who he is. You have to go and find Gollum. Yes, Gollum. And Gollum refers to him as the Bright Master, and like he brings him artifacts from his past, and you get visions and such. Because I I really can't stand that Gollum's in the game. It's not voiced by Andy Serkis, but it's voiced by a guy who sounds so much like him. I'm kind of surprised. Uh, so they did a good job there. But yeah, the game is really fun to just tool around in and like, hey, this asshole's having a feast. I'm gonna go fuck it up. But one of the fun things, and I was really sad when I died. It was weird. I felt bad because if you die, so there's two things that happen when you kill an orc
Right.
captain. Is one, if you kill him, but you don't decapitate him, you don't explode his head or lop it right off,
Hmm.
he comes back. He gets better.
Oh.
If you do lop it off or kill him, he dies and eventually is just replaced. If you die while a guy is just incapacitated, he gets taken off the game board and replaced. So there was this one dude, it's like Hesser or something like that. He was an archer. He would just find me. He would, I swear to God, I killed him, and then 2 minutes later he's back on the map. Like he respawned faster than anyone else. And as you like damage these guys and hurt them, and kill them over and over again, they take physical damage like to their model. So they like when I started fighting him, he just looked like a generic like thin orc dude with a bow. And then after I killed him the first time, he had part of his face was replaced by a big metal plate. And then like the third or fourth time, he had the big metal plate, and then he had this like black canvas bag tied on with ropes around his head. And he's like, I remember you, human. And stuff.
Huh.
He'd yell at you, and I was like, I looked forward to finding this guy because he would just like come find me in the world. He was so angry at me over what I did to him, and then I died. I died trying to do a side quest so I could level up my sword. Because you don't get like new weapons, you get runes, and you build the legend of your sword and your dagger and all this other stuff.
Okay.
Uh,
Tell me you end up with Sting.
no,
Okay.
I don't think so. So
Sting is the hot little Hobbit sword that Bilbo uses in the Hobbit movies and Frodo uses in the Fellowship movies.
and it glows blue whenever there's orcs nearby. Yes.
Right.
So yeah, so it's really neat to have this like nemesis system where these guys have this enmity towards you, and they're trying to find you in the overworld if they're not in like the one location they're normally in, and they'll talk to you about the last time you fought. Like this one time, I had to run away because this guy called in backup, and I went and grabbed. You can't like heal by waiting over time or anything like that. You have to go grab these herbs that are in the world and like cut them up and just eat them, and then you just regain a set amount of health. Or you can get runes on your sword or dagger that, like, when you attack somebody, you have a 10% chance of getting back 5 health per critical strike or something like that. They're these very complex runes. There's nothing that's like extra 10% health or something like that. It's a 58% chance of gaining it back 10 points of health or something when you do a specific thing. So it's not like you're going to go in and find, this is the best rune in the game because it gives me 20,000 extra points of damage per hit or something.
How many runes can you have on your sword at one time?
You can have up to 5 runes on a sword, dagger, or bow.
Hmm.
Those are your 3 weapons that you can use.
And can they be transferred between different weapons, or are there sword runes, are there arrow runes?
Yeah, that's exactly the latter. So the way you get these things is by killing captains, which is why the Nemesis system is really great, because it encourages you to go out and fight these guys. So it's like, okay, I need runes. I'm very underpowered for some of this stuff. I need to get some help here. So you go and you kill like 3 or 4 captains, and they might all drop dagger runes. You're just sitting there going, why the fuck? I already have 9,000 dagger runes. And then you notice that one of them is like 18% chance of this, and then the other one's 19% chance of the same thing. You can hit X on the lower one or the higher one, depending on how masochistic you are, and convert it to a cash system so you can upgrade your stuff. You can pay for certain upgrades, like I want to put more runes on my sword, I want to have more arrows when I shoot, I want to have more focus time. So those are the 2 upgrade systems, and then there's a third one where you upgrade and add abilities to yourself. So it's like I want to be able to shoulder charge people who have shields or whatever it is. And some of those are locked by progress in the story. So, but that's also tiered. I mean, the tiering system for that is kind of weird. It's based on your power level. You gain power levels by taking out orc captains and by going and ruining their events. And I mean, I'm 9 hours in. I'm already max level on that. So there's not really like a ton to worry about there. That's pretty quick. It's the other stuff that takes a while to get to you. So yeah, it's a really fun game to just tool around. The missions are pretty good. I'm just stuck on this one sword mission where it's like, okay, we're going to introduce this. They call it like a ghoul matron or something like that, and it's just a giant version of these little guys that die in one hit. The fucking thing keeps wrecking my shit. I cannot fight it because they're the little ones are all around it, and they just chip away at your health, and then it hits you for massive amounts of damage. It's a bullshit thing. But I think if I get further into the game, I'll actually have the ability to take this thing out pretty easily, so maybe I need to go progress the main story a bit more. But yeah, it's a really fun game. I think there's a couple knocks I have against it so far. One is that the game just throws you into this thing, like, after you die, and you get the flashbacks that are your tutorial sequences. Which, by the way, Polygon already had a freak out over because at one point in their tutorial on how to stealth kill an enemy, hold right trigger and hit X when you're close to them, is telling you to go give your wife flowers and kiss her kiss her when she doesn't expect you to be there. And Polygon had like a 1,000-word article about how it's such a they use women as tutorials and
what?
Yeah. That's actually a charge that's been leveled against a lot of games where it's like, this is a woman in a video game. She's used as a tutorial mission or whatever it is.
I mean, okay, sure. You can make all those charges or whatever, but that's endemic to the industry, man. That's an industry problem. That's not this game specifically. I mean. That's just how I mean, I hate to say it, but that's kind of just how it is. And not to mention, they're reading way too fucking far into it.
Yeah,
at least on that one. I mean, because I mean, you know me, I'm a pretty feminist type guy. Like women are capable of everything men are. Blah 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 blah. Should be treated as equals. I like games with strong female protagonists, like the newest Tomb Raider. That was great.
I was hoping that you were just going to completely blank on that, and I was going to laugh so hard.
Yeah, but I mean, games that make women more than just prop pieces or big titty fun bag things.
Yeah,
you can use that one.
Okay, that sounds like a good term.
But I mean, if anything, that sounds kind of like a neat way to go about a tutorial.
Yeah, I thought it was. It's a nice little, like, they're just building the character very, very bit by bit there, and Polygon had to, like, we need a clickbait article today. Get me Kuchera. What do you got, Ben? I was really offended that you had to kiss a woman. I don't know at what point do you come up with this article, Ben? Or whoever. Yeah. It wasn't him that wrote it, but it's just. There's a quality standard there. It's like, oh yeah, it was seriously 1,000 words about that. And so Yahtzee and Jim Sterling over at The Escapist had a kissing contest where they went to see who could get the most stealth kills in Shadow of Mordor in an hour or something like that. And because they read about that article and they're just like, this is the stupidest fucking article. And so that was their response to it, which I thought was appropriate.
That really just does seem, if anything, it kind of cheapens the whole charge that like women deserve to be more than set pieces. I mean, if you're going to make an issue out of something that's really not an issue, it only weakens the argument that you're trying to make.
Yeah. Well, so, I have to say that 9 hours into the game so far, she was the only woman in the game. There's another one that's come through in some of the artifacts you find.
That's kind of weird because, I mean, one of the big things in the movie is that like the elf women, especially in the Hobbit, the elf women are kind of ridiculously badass too.
Yeah.
So
I don't know. I don't know. Maybe it gets. Maybe they introduce some characters. They've hinted at one.
I,
But there are these slaves that are all over the place that the orcs are using for building stuff, and every one of them has been a man. And I'm like, that's weird. And I guess but that's that's just one of those things I've noticed. It was before that article came out that I heard about that article that I was like, every one of these models is a man, but there's a subplot of a woman who got sold into slavery, and I have not seen a single one so far.
I think that's one of the things, because this is another kind of growing pain of the quote unquote video game industry. Uh, because they're becoming so much more mainstream. You're going to have to start worrying about, oh, do we have enough of enough women in this case here? Do we have enough minorities? Do we have enough?
No, they don't worry about that unless you consider green skin orcs and yellow skin orcs minorities.
Right, but I mean, but it's going to get to the point where do we have enough transsexuals? Do we have enough? And I mean, I get it, but unless it adds something to the story, it shouldn't be in there. And like I said, you know me, I'm as pro everyone as you can be.
Yep.
But I mean, you can't shoehorn a woman into a story that somebody came up with that has to do with. Oh god, it's just one of those really fucking irritating issues.
Yeah,
because then the question becomes, oh well, why didn't you write a woman into? It's like.
Yeah, but I just feel like this is one of those things that, like, the article in Polygon itself misses some of the broader points of a game. Like, this is a game where if you go into your like settings folder in your computer, you can see exactly how many orcs you've killed. Like, you're really freaking out over a 2-second thing at the start of the game that was like one of the least violent and nicest moments of the entire game.
Yeah.
Like, you're not going to say a word about the like massive amounts. There's a move called the Brutalize that is so terrifying that when you do it, you scare away nearby battle-hardened orcs. Like, you jump out of a thing or you come out of a bush and you stab the other orcs so violently that everyone's like, I'm getting the shit out of here. And like, no words about that, but words about the kissing thing. It's just very bizarre to me that that's the thing that somebody picked up on, be offended by in this game. But to your point about it's going to become a quota industry or something like that, I don't think it's headed in that direction. I think what's happening now with a lot of games is there is a push to have characters, and this has especially been true for women characters for the last couple of years at the very least, that are realistic rather than caricatures of women. And I think that's a good thing in a lot of ways. But I think the focus by the video game journalism industry as it exists on trying to highlight characters that they don't like in whatever fashion that they feel appropriate, or moments that they don't like in they use their megaphone or their soapbox, whatever you want to say, to highlight these things. That's probably the bigger problem. They're probably going to ruin things for everybody much faster. I don't think game companies are at all attempting to shoehorn characters into games at this point to be PC, because there isn't really a huge movement towards that end. I think that if you can make a character work in that world, I think it totally is fine and should be pursued.
That goes back to what I was saying earlier. If this character, the only question somebody making a game should ask is, does this character make the game better or does it make the character worse?
Yeah.
And based on that answer, you go from there.
Right. That's the thing. You shouldn't be designing with. I was reading something the other day. People had a freak out over a character in a movie that was based on like a young adult novel, because the character that showed up in the movie was black, and everyone kind of imagined he was white. And somebody said, and I don't even remember what the fuck book it was. Somebody was saying that, hey, in the book they never explicitly say if he's black or white anyways. So does it really matter if he showed up as
Mhm.
black in the movie? Is that really ruining your viewing experience? But this
Right.
is I'm also the same guy who always plays a woman character in RPGs whenever they come out because everyone always plays male characters.
Yeah.
And I also think Feminine Shepherd was a better Shepherd.
Oh,
But
FemShep was definitely way better,
yeah.
and I play. I usually, it's been a tradition in all my Elder Scrolls games that I play as either a female high elf or dark elf. So,
Yeah.
Dunmer for life.
Done my full life.
Yep.
Straight
But
up Bossmer.
but kind of ties into, since we're talking about diversity now.
Uh-huh.
I actually just linked it to you in our conversation.
Yeah.
This is a game I played a couple weeks ago, and I totally forgot to bring it up. It's called Fragments of Him,
Uh-huh.
and it is a maybe short 10-15 minute long game, and it's basically it's first person. You walk around in these small areas, and you click on things, making them disappear. And the premise of the game is you're a man, and the man that you were with has died.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a story about loss and putting it all back together. And I cried at the end. I actually shed tears, multiple tears over it, because it was a really touching game. It was great. It had it was really strange to play a game that had such a profound message about grief and loss and how to proceed. And like I said, that you're a gay guy in the game.
Yeah.
And it's based, every time you click on something, the narrator talks about it, something that reminds him of the person he's lost and all that. And there's this one part, and like I said, it's only 10-15 minutes long, but you're going through the apartment, and it's about the little things, like removing his toothbrush, or it's not one of those things you can do justice by talking about it. You take 10 minutes, take 15 minutes, however long it takes, go through the game, and tell me that it's not great.
Yeah. Well, I think
It was actually produced in that on one of those 72-hour
game
challenge.
jam.
Yeah, game challenge things.
Yeah. Yeah, I think anyone who's had to deal with the aftermath of that sort of thing, and in this last year, that's been me and my family and my wife's family a lot of the time. That is a poignant sort of thing, and going through, I have a bottle of Maker's Mark in my refrigerator up here that I'm afraid to finish off because the person who gave it to me died, and it's just putting that into a game form makes it incredibly uncomfortable on one end, but I think it's a really good empathy builder at the very least. To understand where people come from and how these little things can set them off. It's a really good use for a game format, I think.
Yeah, it definitely made me think about the whole games as art sort of thing. And like I said, just if you're one of the people, or I don't know why I use, if you're one of the person, hi mom, that listens to this, take the 10-15 minutes and go play it. Fragments of Him, beautiful game. I can't say much more about it.
Yeah. So, thanks for bringing the podcast all the way down. Well, I mean, I am actually glad you mentioned it, because you did send me a PM about that a little while ago, and I felt like I should have asked you about it, but with all the shit that goes on in this podcast and how busy we are at Hate the Player headquarters at all times, with the various Hate the Player industries coming out with new products every quarter. It gets difficult to remember that stuff, but you're right. That is something we should have mentioned. I haven't had time myself to go do that, and honestly, the way you're describing it makes me not want to go do it after this year.
The game it has a really, 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 really positive message, and that it's not about what you've lost. It's about what you had, and how beautiful that time was, and all that, and yeah, wow. I kind of don't want to talk about this now because it's I don't know. Like just talking about it, it's a really, really positive message, and healthy one for anybody that's maybe going through or has had that sort of grief.
Yeah, there are definitely people who don't cope with it as well as others could.
No, absolutely.
Yeah, so that's an uncomfortable conversation.
Yeah. Shit just got heavy.
We just brought things down here. So back onto lighter topics in Shadows of Mordor. When you strip an orc family of its main breadwinner, who just seemingly runs around Mordor, I don't know what to say about that. But yeah, the game. We'll get back to Shadows of Mordor now that you brought us down that low.
I'm gonna go pour myself a drink and get my razor.
Yeah, Jesus. I'm gonna shave at this time. No.
Yep. Down the highway.
On the highway. Okay. Let's just finish up the Shadows of Mordor chat here if we can. So the really cool thing about it is that once you start killing these captains, you can move up to the war chiefs, and I haven't gotten it yet, but there's a big thing where you can build your own army by going and getting these guys and basically making them come work for you, and then putting them in place, sending them against each other, that sort of thing. It's really cool, but they fight each other. It feels like a really cool living world sort of thing, where sometimes you'll just be walking around and two war chiefs will be fighting a bunch of dog lizard things or something like that at random. You didn't set them out, but they're there. So yeah, go pick that up if you're at all interested. I got it for $35 thanks to some pretty good deals I had going.
Yeah, Green Man Gaming had a discount for September, right?
Yep, I picked it up. I pre-ordered it out of all the things. I kept saying I'm never going to pre-order a digital game. That's the dumbest thing. And then I saw that they had the 25% off deal, and I'm like, I'm going to use that, and I'm going to get that fucking game. So I got it for $37 or something like that, and I had some credit with Green Man or something, so I was able to get a little bit more off of that. And then, but the fun thing was, if you preloaded the files, for whatever reason, it automatically put you in 4K resolution, and so I couldn't launch the game. I wanted to just make sure it ran, because I don't know if you've seen the minimum settings and the system requirements for that game.
No, I haven't.
So the system requirements for it are nuts. It's like a 7970 on the AMD side if you want to run it at the recommended settings, and then a quad core, 3.5 gig processor. I haven't actually had to use my system has not been strained that much, and what has been strained has been the graphics card. But I get a solid 30 frames at the lowest in that game with 50 guys crowding around me trying to do their own thing. With just my 7950. But that did not stop me. Someone was telling me in the thread not to do it, but in the Battlefield thread not to do it. Totally bought a 970. The one that you can overclock to be better than a 980.
Yeah, you're the second or third person that has had a card less or about a year old and has upgraded to the NVIDIA 900 series.
Yeah, to be honest with you, a lot of that is because the 7950 was actually released in 2012, and
Ah.
I more or less made money by buying this card, so I don't feel bad by because
Justify it however you like.
yeah. Well, I was telling my wife I didn't think it was a great idea, and she's like, "Are you taking it out of the account?" No. Then do whatever the fuck you want. Oh, okay, yeah, that's right. I have all this money and I have nothing to spend it on. Might as well do this.
Drugs.
I
Drugs.
could always get into drugs.
Yes.
My
Yes.
brother is
And
actually
hey,
from
hey.
2 pawn shops now,
Oh,
thanks
well,
to
that's
drugs.
fun. That's fun.
Yeah.
I mean, and I mean that kind of ties into the whole grief conversation too. I mean,
Yeah.
who needs to feel grief? You've got drugs.
Yeah, good deal. It's my
Yay.
armor. Uh, but yeah, Shadows of Mordor is really fun. You should go pick it up, Arnold, if you have an inclination towards that and some money hanging around for it. It's only $50 on computer for whatever reason.
Steam has turned me into the most miserly person
Yeah.
that I've ever met. Now, I actually balked at spending $22 on Wasteland 2.
Wow. Had to wait
Yeah,
till it was
yeah,
on sale.
it's a $40 game,
Oh,
and I got it from some really shady Singapore site.
nice.
But it's a legit Steam key and it works, so I don't care if it was formulated using the aborted fetuses that China ships over. I mean,
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah. That's that's the one thing I love about going into PC games. It's just like no one pirates anything anymore. That's the fun part. One, two. Everything is dirt cheap. If it's
Yeah.
not, oh sorry. And if it's not dirt cheap, people have a fucking problem. They're like, "Why is this thing? Why am I paying money for this? I don't
This
understand."
game costs millions of dollars to make. It should be 99 cents.
Yeah. Speaking of 99 cents, somebody gifted me Bad Rats today.
Bad Rats?
Bad Rats, The Rat's Revenge.
What the fuck is that?
That is a shitty puzzle game that you can get for 99 cents on Steam and then gift to people. It's
You make it sound like it's cancer.
just about. Like, it's sort of the white elephant gift of Steam sales. Like, every time there's a Steam sale, it is on sale for 99 cents. You buy it and you just send it to somebody. And it's like, thanks a lot, jackass. And you kind of have to just deal with it.
I'll send it to Hellbender.
Yeah, send it to Hellbender. That's a good idea. I like it. So yeah, I got gifted that. That was fun. So before we go, and I know we turned this into a weird podcast already.
Yeah.
Battlefield had a huge ass patch, and we've played a lot of it.
Yeah, and it's hard to point to one thing that makes it better, at least for me, but it feels better. Like it feels very Battlefield 3 in the gunplay, which was one of my big complaints.
Yeah.
And the player movement feels better. Recoil across basically every gun feels better. I discovered the God's gift to PDWs, the CZ3A1.
Oh yeah, you were jacking off to that thing.
Oh man, you just point in somebody's direction and hold down the trigger, and then half a second later your magazine's gone, but then half a second later it's reloaded.
Yeah.
It's basically the closest thing to the P90 from Battlefield 3 that I found. It should be noted that I don't actually have the P90 for Battlefield 4.
Yeah.
But apparently that got a bunch of buffs, so I'm gonna have to let somebody die or something in the single player game to
Just download that single player save file.
yeah.
Substitute your own. Get all the guns. Yeah, you have to kill Hannah. That's the only way to get that.
Oh darn.
Yeah.
As long as I don't have to kill Omar.
That's what you do to get the 249B.
Yeah,
the
yeah,
249
yeah.
whatever.
Or 249. 249 was still pretty amazing.
Yeah.
It's one of those guns that's been good across, I think, every Battlefield.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a pretty good patch as far as I can tell. I didn't see any real problems with anything. I wish the terrain loading bug would go away now that they have the ready state that you have to agree to.
Ugh.
I think that's really kind of bullshit.
That I really hate the ready state. I mean, I understand. For if you played Battlefield 4, you know that if you have a solid state drive, you load in before everybody else, you can pick whatever vehicle you want before all the hard drive plebs load in, like 10 or 15 seconds before. And it was one of the big reasons that I actually have Battlefield 4 on my SSD. And now, instead, you have to wait until something like a third of each team is loaded in and clicks on ready before you can actually get in a vehicle or start the match at all. And it really makes me sad. The whole reason I got an SSD was so I could lord my loading times over everyone, and now I can't. I'm a pleb.
Yeah, it's. I when they said that they were going to work on that after it got a lot of attention in Hardline because people, I can't get into the attack helicopter at the start of the round because I don't have an SSD. Yeah, that bullshit that people had to deal with. You know what? I understand it to a degree. Yeah, everyone should be on equal footing at times, but that's just, let me just get into whatever I want at the start of the round. You still can ready up and then immediately click on the thing you want and just jab.
Yeah, now
spacebar.
Instead of loading time, it's based on ping.
Yeah, that's even better.
Yeah. So we've basically gone back to Counter-Strike 1.5.
So all the Brazilians have all the vehicles. Fantastic.
Wait.
Yeah, Chrono Jam's constant hating on Brazilians is amazing. Because he's just, if you watch the chat when he's talking, get rid of all the Brazilians, this game would be pretty great. Just constantly.
Yeah.
He got kicked from were you there when he got kicked from the server?
He gets kicked, yes, I was.
Yeah.
He gets kicked from everything. For those of you who don't know, Chrono Jam is a good Battlefield player, and I say that capital G, capital B, capital P. And in pretty much every role. I mean, if he's in an AA, I thought I'm pretty good with the AA. If I'm good, he's great. Like Tony the Tiger, great. So he basically gets his fun from making people upset, which is something I can get behind.
Yeah.
And usually once he starts, or he's pretty good, and everybody will jump in and help him dunk on people. But he gets kicked a lot.
Yeah,
a lot.
That was the best part. It's like I want to try to find a conquest server, and then I'm just reading off some of the ones that had enough people missing for us to jump in.
Nope.
Banned. Which one of that? Nope, banned from that.
It's the plight of the player that's so good that he makes everyone angry at him, and then talks shit to make people more angry.
Yeah. It's, and then he got kicked from that server we were on after basically going, not because he was doing super well that round, but because the round before he had gone 52-3 or something like that. Oh, you must be a hacker.
And I was egging on the guy saying yeah, he's totally a cheater.
Yeah, good job egging him on. Because we didn't know he was a mod until after he kicked Chrono Jam. And then I stopped playing because I was so fucking tired of their Little Bird Spurg that I just
Yeah, you were just having an off night as far as that goes.
Usually I can fly a Little Bird just totally fine, and that guy was just number one must have 2 repair guys going at me full time. No matter what I did, he was just not going down. It didn't help that on the second map, our AA was stuck in spawn and would not leave. He grabbed it from C and then immediately drove it back to the...
You gotta keep it safe. Yeah. You gotta keep it safe.
And everyone's in the chat telling him move it out of the spawn, and the enemy team finally goes, I don't know why you have your little bird in your spawn, or not your little bird, but your AA in spawn. It's yeah, I don't know either. Kick him. You might as well just kick him too. Sorry about that. Just trying to get this guy angry, and everyone leaves.
Battlefield experience.
Yeah, it's really annoying that you can't do well in that game without being called a hacker or a cheater.
That's PC gaming.
Yeah, well, of course it is. But that used to happen all the time on the console too. It's oh, you guys must be using them Zims, which was actually true of most goons with Call of Duty. But
God, yeah, looking back on it now, I wish I would have.
Yeah.
Just because Yeah, it's ridiculous how much easier it is to aim at people with a mouse than it is with a controller.
Yeah, it's just.
God, can you imagine how bad Battlefield 3 would have been back in the day?
Yeah. Ugh. Ugh.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well,
I just feel like the Chrono Jam got kicked again. He got kicked from some ATF clan server for being douches,
oh,
and it's a
imagine
permaban.
that.
Oh no, 11 people. It wasn't just him. 11 goons got banned.
Yep. Yep.
Every day. I swear to God. And it's. I think it's only going to get worse as time goes on. Like, there's going to be a point where Chrono Jam is effectively banned from playing on any Conquest server.
Yep.
It's going to be great.
Hey, that should be our goal, our meta goal for Battlefield.
Yeah, let Chrono get into an A and get banned by overactive admins.
Yep. But all right, you ready to put this baby to sleep? And by sleep, I mean drown it in the tub.
I was going to put a pillow over its face because then you couldn't really tell if it just was SIDS or not. But yeah, sure. Yeah. Hey, wow, that was darker than usual. Hey, anyone, if you have a child you don't want, and why would you want one? Here's some tips on how to get rid of them. One, yeah.
Personally, I like the just leave it in a dumpster standby.
Yeah, that's a pretty good one. I've heard flushing it down the toilet you gave birth to it in is a good option if you're in high school.
God damn it.
Yeah, we just the depths of the depravity on this podcast. They know no lows. All right,
and
so
this is without Three Toes. Jesus.
Yeah, he would have probably just brought this really far into the
Yeah.
You jerk off on it. That's all right. Three Toes, thanks. And full circle. Yeah.
Right.
No. Okay.
Roll Tide.
Roll Tide.
Born ready.
Roll Tide.